Hey guys, welcome back to Nio. Today we're gonna go through some of the must-have Weakauras when it comes to Shadow Priest, most of which I use myself and find quite useful. I will also include some Castle Nathria Weakauras for Mythic and HC difficulties, as well as some Mythic Plus Weakauras that I tend to think can be a key saver. Both of these working for every spec, not just Priest. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so firstly, let's have a look at a core Weakaura for Shadow Priest. The first one I recommend having is Priest Core Luxthos, a great Weakaura that shows you every cooldown and how long your dots will last on the current target. Quite friendly, it's just useful to catch your eye and get your CDs going at the right time. Overall, it just makes your life easier. I always use it, but if I had to give you a prime example where this Weakaura saved my life, that would be on Slushfix Mythic, because of how well it displays exactly what you need to see. Shadow Priest being quite a pain when it comes to timers, especially if you're rolling Night Fae or Kyrian, it can really be a game changer. This Weakaura is also available for every spec in the game, and generally speaking, is one of the best when it comes to a good visual representation of your CDs. I recommend you check it out. Next up, we have a more generic, but all the same important Weakaura, if you raid. This being raid timelines. Now, there are a lot of different Weakauras that achieve this, but generally speaking, having one is almost a must, as it shows you the timers for upcoming abilities the boss will do, allowing you to properly position, use cooldowns, or even use defensives accordingly. This in general, just like the UI Weakaura I mentioned from before, is a great lifesaver and allows you to see what's going on better and lets you respond to a mechanic faster than you otherwise would. If you're into Mythic or AC raiding, I would suggest you use it as it will help you a lot through progression, as well as making your overall results, be it damage or healing, more competitive and on point. If you are doing an extra mechanic with your utility, like Leap of Faith or Master Spell, then the timers will also make you that much sharper while doing it. Up next we have M Interrupts, an amazing Weakaura that shows you the CD on other players' interrupts, as the name suggests. Now, this can save your group, and the reason for that is if no one has a kick, for example, well, this lets you know about it, which can lead to you doing some insane plays, like micro-controlling the target that was about to cast a spell, stun, or even psychic screen, and so on and so on. This Weakaura is simple, yet in my opinion is one of the biggest group saving Weakauras on this list. It also lets you know if your group messed up and everyone kicked at the wrong time, which on a tyrannical boss can make you pay a pretty hard price. Though having that knowledge, you can reduce the healing needed with a defensive to survive, like dispersion and so on. In general, I would just recommend you getting this one, if like me you enjoy doing dungeons, as not only does it show you the cooldown on interrupt, but if you look at it closer, lets you plan ahead who is going to kick next. Shorter kicks first, then longer kicks as a backup. Shadow Priest kick. Sorry there, not sure why I did that. Coming up next we have Zentracker CT. Now the reason I tend to find this one great is because it goes hand to hand with the M plus interrupts I just mentioned about, giving you the cooldowns available in your group, making responding to a tough situation a bit easier, although you never know. Let's say your Resto Shaman uses Transcendence while your group is taking some pretty hefty damage from a Pride. Then you don't particularly need to respond with any other major cooldowns as your healer already has. But let's say your healer does not have any major cooldowns to use. Then this will let you know about it and enable you to use your defensives, health pots, and healthstone if you have a warlock in your team. Another great use for this is to look at offensive cooldowns from the DPS to know if it's worth for you to commit your cooldowns. If the pack is already going from 100% to 20% in seconds, it's probably not. Lastly, another use for this is being able to see if you should be using your utility like Leap of Faith, Master Spell, and CC if an ally is falling low and does not have any of his or her defensives up. It could even save your tank should he be trying to kite and has no means of doing so. A well placed mind control or psychic screen really goes a long way and can make a difference to potentially save your group from a wipe. Another pretty specific Weakaura out there is stamina buff missing. This lets you know when you or someone in your group does not currently have a stamina buff. To be frank with you, this is sometimes overlooked as a dumb reminder, but no matter what content you do, rebuffing often is part of your job as a priest. Stamina is perhaps not the most attractive buff, but can still 100% save someone from death. So I would recommend for you to use this one, as overall it will make you a better team player and therefore a better player overall. Stamina buff might seem underwhelming, but it's quite the opposite, as an extra 5% health means you can absorb more damage during a mechanic. So you should aim to use stamina in one of your next globals to rebuff a recently rest team member, or if you're doing PvP, if someone is removing your stamina buff, you want to keep that up. Next up, we have M plus timers, which is more of a niche pick when it comes to Weakauras, as it simply makes your M plus UI look better with some enhancements, of course. The reason I tend to think this is a useful one to have is it shows the timer left for each different chests, so +1, +2, and +3. Not only that, it also includes the affix, timers at which you kill the bosses, but most important of all, it lets you know when Pride is going to spawn. Now, no matter what M plus level you do, a reminder for Pride affix is always welcome, so you can plan your CDs around it. It also shows you where the current pull is going to get you in terms of percentage, which is just overall useful to track your progress in the key and to know when to use CDs. A last but not least Shadow Priest specific Weakaura I'm going to mention is Tracker. If you're using Platter as your nameplate add-on, which I would recommend, what this Weakaura will do is give you some nice settings for Platter, like color coding the enemy depending on what dots you have on the target. This might seem a little bit simple for Weakaura, but honestly, when things get hectic in a raid fight or a Mythic Plus pack, it's a great way to pay extra attention to your dots on the enemy targets, as it can make a big damage difference for us Shadow Priests. I personally don't use any specific settings on Platter, but I know that it can be a struggle to keep your dots up on a large pack of ads. Having different colors depending on what kind of dots the targets have is a great way to grasp your next priority in your rotation. Alright, I think it's time for some Castle Nathria Weakauras. Consider this a top 3 of the current tier. Now, before I start, know that there are plenty of Weakauras out there to help you with each encounter, no matter difficulty. You are progressing, so make sure to make use of that. Firstly, let's mention a very minor and underlooked Weakaura, which is Artificer's Xemox Wavering Touch. Now, the reason as to why I chose this one is firstly, it affects every difficulty of raiding. Not only that, but this type of simple mechanic can often be the cause of death when paired with other mechanics. Just knowing that you have the dots and having it printed big and wide for you to see makes surviving a bit more simple, as you'll become aware as to what you have to do, be it pop a defensive, health stone, or a health pot, or even call for an external from your healers. This kind of mechanic is often overlooked, but this kind of dot usually ticks hard and is hard to manage when paired with other mechanics. Next up for raiding Weakauras will be Dark Recital Group. Generally speaking, this is more of a mythic only Weakaura, but it can still be useful as a reminder for lower difficulties. What it does is tell you to go left if you do not have Dark Recital on you, and to go right if you have Recital on you. If you're progressing Mythic or you already killed Council, you know why that is. But even in lower modes, you can use this as a warning to know if you have Dark Recital or if you don't have Dark Recital on you, which is one of the more annoying mechanics out there. I would recommend you use it if you struggle with this mechanic, as an extra reminder is always useful. especially when it's not only visuals but also vocal. Alrighty, with all these Weakauras, let's do one last one, which is going to be Baroness Frida Interrupt Tracker, a Weakaura that has a lot of utility when it comes to the Frida fight. Mostly for Mythic and HC, as the small adds that you are required to kick are not a mechanic for LFR and normal. But that out of the way, this is amazing for progress, as it lets the person who is meant to kick know that they have to kick next. Having that knowledge, that person can call for someone else to kick should they be unable to perform that. Another simple weak aura, but a greatly appreciated one, as it can be hard to coordinate when you have a raid group in voice. Alright, so with these 10 covered, this will be it for now, but I just want to say that there are plenty of other weak auras that deserve your attention. Just like all the LVI ones, I still don't know how to pronounce this add-on, I'm really sorry. I don't particularly use it myself, but I've seen some great setups and some great UIs made by guildies and friends, and you should definitely check out the weak auras that go with it. Also, make sure to check the other raiding weak auras out there, especially if you're progressing. There are some amazing ones. For example, all of the Mythic Stone Legion Generals weak auras. All I have to say is, what a lifesaver. But I think I've been rambling on for long enough, so as always, thanks for watching, sub, like and hit that bell button if you enjoyed the vid, and let me know in the comment sections what weak auras you use and find incredible. Anyway, have a nice one guys, see you around.
The shadows will take you.